Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Spiritual Gangstas. My name is Johnny, and here guys, we help provide solutions to your spiritual awakening. And today guys, what brings me on is I had a opportunity to speak to Amy Blackhurst, psychic medium, on her podcast. I had the honor, the pleasure to actually be invited on her show. And the show was about the Covert Narcissist, spiritual awakening, the dark night of the soul, and understanding self. And I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't already, please follow Amy Blackhurst at Instagram. Her website will be linked down below as well. And like I'm saying, thank you very much for having me on the show. It was a blast. I had a good time. Yeah, man. So hope you guys like it.
Cross my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
Live podcast. I don't know if some of you may not know, but I have a podcast. It's called the Humbled Soul Podcast. And this is created for empathic people who are empaths. You don't have to be, you don't even have to know exactly what that means, except that you're drawn to it. You have a knowing, you have a sensitivity to people, crowds, places, situations. Maybe you're drawn to animals, or animals are drawn to you. You can just feel things. I created this because I went through so much stress and strain, depression, anxiety, because I didn't understand my gifts. And so I created the Humbled Soul. I worked as a nurse for over 20 years. I've retired. I've been a psychic and a medium practicing for close to 10 years, but out of the closet completely for almost 8. So, and I have a guest that's coming in, and it's Spiritual Gangster 44 coming in. And we're going to be talking live about a really important subject, covert narcissists, how it all fits in to the whole shebang of our growth, the catalyst for a lot of us to know how to handle our lives, our sensitivities, our gifts, and future relationships, our abundance, our health, and so forth. So, with that, episode 21, connecting and understanding the dark night of the soul. We all have it. And I have a special guest tonight. He's amazing. His name is Johnny, and I hope I don't mess up his last name. Johnny Melanando. Johnny Melanando. No. Johnny Maldonado. I just said it right, didn't I? Johnny Maldonado. They're like, sound it out, Amy. Spirit's like, sound it out. It's my, it's my learning disability, like totally dyslexic. I have to like look at stuff a little bit. It's always been part of my journey. He's known on IG as the Spiritual Gangster. Actually, it's Spiritual Gangsta with an A at the end, 44. All one word, Spiritual Gangsta 44 on Instagram. And also he's on YouTube at spiritual_gangsta. He has 100K subscribers to his channel. He's about and I quote, change your story and you change your reality. Change your story and change your reality. If I'm not waving at you, it's just because I'm in it doing the podcast now. We're recording live, bringing him in. And I got to know Johnny, just recently got to know him a little bit more, but we've been following each other on Instagram now for a while. And I was instantly excited when he reached out to me and had me come on to his YouTube channel. We had a beautiful chemistry and a lot to share. And what I love is that Johnny has overcome this 18-year toxic relationship with a covert narcissist. What is a covert narcissist? A covert narcissist is someone who is acting like the victim. They are surviving solely on us caring for them. Yeah. And all of us have been in that situation, and some of us have even been the covert. I mean, we're not immune to being or at sometimes falling in these pockets, but there are also, when we realize it and go, wait a minute, I got to switch it up. But there are people that live in this, and they will drag your ass down. Drag your ass down. And so what we're doing tonight is we're talking about the covert narcissist. And he survived that. And by surviving that toxic relationship for over 18 years, it was his catalyst. It was Johnny's catalyst to his spiritual awakening. He is He's amazing. He's a blogger, vlogger, I guess. He has a lot of beautiful knowledge. He will take you down uncomfortable places and take you into these places where maybe some people wouldn't talk about. And I love that about him. I love that he allows himself to be a little bit like sandpaper sometimes and get to the nit and gritty, the uncomfortable conversations, the dark empaths. What about the heavy empaths? What are we? What is that? What does that mean? Well, we're going to talk about it. So Johnny, I'm going to bring you in. I see it's like Spiritual Gangsters back in. Let's get him in. I just want to give time for everybody to get in. We're doing a live podcast. We're having a little bit of a hiccup with stuff. It just is what it is. The stars, the moons, everything's got to be just right. So this is episode 21. We're going to be talking about the dark energies of our awakening, the dark parts of the awakening, and the in between, the alls, the aboves, the belows, and so between. And so this is the dark night of your soul conversation, and it's a big one. So get comfortable, get your snacks, get your wine, get your smokes, get your stogies, get your ganja, get your whatever it is you need and want and choose, and get comfortable. Johnny, tell me you can see me.
I can see you, Amy. I can see you. You're looking beautiful, by the way. Looking beautiful,
Johnny.
like always.
I'm telling you, anytime a man tells me I'm beautiful, I'm just putty. I'm like, oh.
No, well, those eyes. It's the eyes
It's
always.
the
The eyes
eyes.
always do it right.
But as my husband says, you get used to the eyes. I'm
Yes.
like, are they learning anymore? And he's like, yeah, they're learning.
Well, I do want to say thank you, Amy. Thank you very much. I was hearing you talking, and it's a beautiful introduction because I'm finding myself in this spiritual awakening, and I'm just understanding myself as well. And that's why, like, when you invited me onto the show, I was like very blessed. I got really like, my imposter syndrome started to kick in. I'm like, am I ready for this? Just a whole bunch of questions start to come in.
Yep.
But before I do start, like I said, I do want to thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it, man. It's like, it's a blessing, because it is also a sign from spirit that this is the way you need to go. This is the route that you're pushed to go, man. This is where it's at, and so yes. And I also want to thank, the Empath Uprising, Pete Sapper at the Chosen 144, Billy Carson, one of my mentors in the sense of understanding self, man, getting to know yourself, and yeah, man, becoming your best version and start living your best life. So thank you.
I love that. And your mentor. And will you do me a favor when we're done? Will you also like let me know your mentor's information so we can also post that information if you feel like you'd like to be able to put that in there as well?
It's Billy Carson.
That'd be cool.
It's Billy Carson and it's Pete Sapper, man. These are the people.
I don't know, who are these people.
So
who
Pete
are
Sapper. Pete Sapper. He's a part of the Chosen 144. He's actually one of the people who helped me understand myself. Like, meaning, hey, you might have some inner child wounds here. Hey, you might be a dark empath. Hey, he got me to understand myself in the sense to get me to ask myself the better questions. Because as you start to wake up and you start to go through this, dark night of the soul or awakening, you're asking the wrong questions because you're asking these disempowering questions. You're asking like, where's the narcissist? Where's this person? Why am I, struggling? And when you're asking those disempowering questions, that's what you're going to start attracting into your life. That's what you're going to bring in because that's what you're vibing. That's the aura you're giving out. So when you start asking more of these empowering questions, like, for example, like, what is my purpose? What can I do? How can I be a service to others? What gifts do I have that I can start sharing? Once you start asking questions like that, like empowering questions, then guess what? Spirit and other and people will start coming into your life. So, that's just to get started real quick. So yeah, and I'm a little nervous.
I got so many things. We got so much to talk about. Before we do that, I just want to say hi to everybody coming in. People are coming in and out. I want to just take a moment and say thank you to everybody coming in. I know people are going to come in and out. Some people are like, oh, is Amy live giving readings or is she here? What's happening? So you'll have people kind of coming in and out for different reasons. But I just want to welcome everyone here first and foremost, whether they're here now, coming in and out, watching later. This will also be posted on the YouTube, on my YouTube as well, my YouTube channel, The Humbled Soul, which brings me also to your YouTube channel. This is what's so cool is I found Johnny on Instagram, and always just found him. I found his material interesting. He likes to go down that rabbit hole a little bit, and so do I. And that's where Spirit actually has brought me down that rabbit hole, and that's where exactly where Spirit brings a lot of people. They call it the rabbit hole, but it's called the reality hole. We're gonna call it the reality hole, not the rabbit hole. It's the reality hole.
It's your soul calling
and
you.
that reality hole is fucking good shit when you finally start to realize what's real and what's not. But it can be scary. It can be really, really scary. And so what's really beautiful is Johnny gives pieces. He gives it straight. He gives it straight, you know, right to, and that's what I like. You know, there's no, you know, patting your tushy. He gives it straight. But even when he gives it straight, there's this gentleness. And Johnny, that's what I really love about you. You have this very nurturing side to you in your spiritual gangsta that you give, because you do give it. You give it straight, no chaser. Like you're like, no, I want to swallow it, but I want you to be with it with me. Like you're not walking and turning around going, so. And as I was saying, you're still with them and you're bringing them through it. Okay, you're also acknowledging the pains, the griefs, and all of it because you've been in it.
Yes,
it's like an addict. As an addict. You sat in a toxic relationship because it was a toxic bond. And now you're teaching people all over the world. You're teaching people to release post-trauma, past trauma.
Yes.
How to reach the higher levels of consciousness.
Wow. Thank you, Amy. Yes.
Which is huge. Okay. And you're breaking also general curses by reprogramming.
Yes.
Reprogramming. Versus
reprogram our
sitting
subconscious
in that,
mind.
well, we're all programmed. And we're just a hot mess. It's all a hot mess. It is what it is. And bitching about it, you're actually helping people reprogram. And you're reprogramming with them. But you've also done the work and doing the work. And you're humble about it, which is why you're here.
Thank you.
Because you're an example of a humbled soul. And it continues on with you want to help other people break free of that matrix and help them start living their life that they deserve. What does that look like? What does that look like? A life that we deserve. What does that look like to you?
A life that we deserve. Well, that's actually a very good question, Amy, you know, because a lot of us, like I said, you know, we're in that trauma mindset. We're in that victim mentality, you know, especially if you grew up anything like myself, which is I grew up in a toxic household. I grew up in a toxic environment. You know, I grew up as a scapegoat. You mean, my mom was pretty much like a borderline, very narcissistic. So, of course, they pass that trauma on to you. And that's how you live life. You live life unconscious. You live life just existing. You know, you're just being and you're going ahead. And so to live a better life is to reprogram the subconscious mind. Understand where is this stemming from. So in other words, it's asking yourself, like I was saying earlier, those better questions. And the best life that you can live is being your authentic self. It's literally being your authentic self.
What does that look like? Does that mean if I like to eat dessert before dinner, that I just need to say that I need to be honest about it?
It's speaking your truth.
Right. Because what I'm saying is people like, what does that fucking mean? What does that fucking mean? Be your authentic self. What does that mean? What does that
because
mean?
a lot of us, we can't share. We can't speak our truth. We're not allowed to. You know, because they told us at a young age, our parents or you're not allowed to be a certain type of person. So being your authentic self is being your true self, your higher self. It's being the person that that's going to speak its truth. And what I mean by speaking your truth is not staying quiet. It's defending yourself, speaking up when you need to speak up. You know what I mean? Not just turning the blind eye, because a lot of people have friends, or we call them friends, but they're not really your friends because they're just there watching and just pretty much watching your downfall. A real friend is going to tell you exactly how it is, what's happening, and it's going to give you some sort of guidance. But also a real friend is going to be someone who's going to listen. So everything I'm describing is being your authentic self. And the only way you're going to get there is understanding yourself. And the more you understand yourself, the more you're going to be able to understand and see others. That's the way to go. That's the way to start making this new shift into this new earth, as they call it. And I was never spiritual, by the way. I was never spiritual. I didn't grow up like many people, you know, like I was saying, like as I was awakening through this, dark night of the soul that I was having because, I went through the betrayal trauma. If anybody knows what the betrayal trauma is, it's when you're pretty much just like, you found out that your life is a lie. Everything you've been told has been a lie. You could go from, the system to the people who you were with. And in my case, it was the covert narcissist. Because if you're an empath or anything like, or codependent of some sort that takes accountability for other people's actions, you're going to take the narcissist, their accountability just for you can be cool with them. Yep. And you're going to start chasing them. And then next thing you know, you're giving your power away. And that's what I mean by you need to start living through your authentic self, your true self, is be who you are. Speak your truth. Like don't tell people what they want to hear. Like actually, it's an awakening, because what I'm trying to get to here, Amy, is when I woke up, you know what I mean? Like I was never, like I was saying, spiritual. I never understood any of this. So what it took for me to understand was to be with somebody, and that was the catalyst to my growth. Yep. So a lot of people don't understand what they're going through. They don't see that they're going through a dark night of the soul. They just think that it's just an everyday thing. And if you grew up, like I said, like me, you think it's normal. And it's not normal. It's not okay, because you were programmed like that. So as you grow up, you search for that type of relationship subconsciously. So what you need to do is reprogram that subconscious mind. You need to start looking at those triggers, looking at what's bothering you. Yep. And then, and all this stuff, I understood it as the more I got to know myself, because I'm like, when I woke up, I was like, am I the narcissist? Am I the one?
You know what? That's a really good point too. Am I the narcissist? Because I will tell you, empaths are very commonly made to feel that they are the narcissist. They are the selfish one. We are made to feel that because empaths attract narcissistic people. We attract narcissistic people because we make them feel good, because we can see deep into their soul. So we make them feel good. Well, when we make them feel good, what happens? They want to hold on to us. And at first, it's all charismatic and beautiful.
They call it the love bombing.
Or maybe they're the victim, but you're like, or they start charismatic, but then they become the victim, or you are you're causing them to be the victim. Or every time you want to get out of it, they're threatening to take their life. They're saying they're sick, they're this, they're that. They're literally manipulating someone and holding them hostage.
Yes.
It is abuse. Yet you can't usually see the bruises, the scrapes, the cuts, the damage. You can't you can't see it. It's over time.
Yes. So and a narcissist,
and the guilt, by the way,
yes,
too, right?
Yes.
They know how to guilt,
because they guilt trip you. They can guilt trip you. You're pretty much their emotional punching bag, because like I said, if you're an empath, you give, you love to give, and narcissists love to take. So they call it the narcissistic codependent dance, or the narcissistic empathic dance, because it's that give and take relationship. And those are the toxic patterns and the toxic cycles that you need to recognize. And the only way you're going to recognize that is if you love yourself. You have to have that defiant self-love. Because once you start to love yourself and care for yourself, you're not going to allow that. You're not going to accept that. But since we're in that toxic relationship and we're in those toxic patterns, you're not going to be able to recognize it. And they're not, and as well, you're not allowed to be your authentic self, because you have to be a certain way. You can't say a certain type of thing. You have to not frown. You have to pretty much be under their spell. So it takes for you to recognize that. And I was fortunate enough to be left by the narcissist. I was discarded by the narcissist after 18 years. Now, like I was saying, I was no victim. I mean, I was no angel. I was no angel. You know what I mean? I did my stuff as well. You mean I was the toxic person as well. And that's when I got to understand, you know what I was? As I understood, I'm not a narcissist, but you know what I might be? Is a dark empath. Like,
Okay.
wow. I started to see
Ooh, and
these
then what's a
traits.
dark empath versus a heavy empath? Because
Well,
people get dark empaths and heavy empaths mixed up.
what's a heavy empath? I know you were describing that to me the last time.
The heavy empath is when you are in where you're zapped, you're exhausted. You have maybe been a people pleaser or given your gifts, and you're exhausted, and you're in a place of depression. You're in a place of anxiety. You're in a place of possibly even suicidal ideation. Been there, all in the above. In my life, several times in my
Wow.
teens, early 20s, and some 30s. Not so often and much now in my older years, almost 50. But I will tell you, there are moments where I do struggle still. I am an empath. I am a sensitive, and
Yes.
things will get me and hit me hard.
You're absorbing
But when
energy.
but also being in a relationship with a narcissist, and I'll leave it at that. Not the person I'm married to, but I'll just leave that I was, and not just a romantic relationship with a narcissist at one time in my life, but also in friendships. I have found myself involved in very close friendships where I am then zapped and sucked
Gotcha.
fucking dry. And I am an intuitive. I am a successful small business owner. I read for people all over the world.
You're
I am
amazing, by the way.
humble,
You're
but
amazing.
here's
Yes.
the deal. I can't read for myself
Mm.
the way I read for others. And a lot of times people think, well, if you're this and this, you must, I mean, some people might write books saying that they can. And I think it also depends on the person and who you are too, and how stubborn you are, because I really try to be the human living the human life.
Mm.
I'm not obsessed with knowing necessarily that maybe some people might be. And then there's times when I want to know, and I just know I'm not going to be able to fully trust my intuition because I'm too
Gotcha.
invested here. But ultimately, it took me to be with narcissistic people, a couple of people in my life, romantically, professionally, or just even as friendships, for me to realize where I was, who I was, and what I was supposed to do. And it forced me, like you, to have my voice. I always had the gifts, but I wasn't going to share them. I wasn't going to be told I was told I was crazy all my life.
Yes, yes,
Because I
exactly.
was, yeah.
They put that
And
craziness into you.
they do. And even recently, when I had to stand up with some clients, the narcissistic pulls they'll pull. Or, I was challenging someone not too long ago online who made a comment that was really passive aggressive.
Wow.
And they insisted when I blew it up, because, we like to do, that's a lesson discussed. Like, we do that. You show the comment. If they do it live, I like to, because I don't want other people to misunderstand where I'm coming from because somebody's comment. Long story short, the point is the narcissist needs to be recognized as someone who's going to back up with this attitude of, you are overreacting. Give me a break. Come on,
They're
baby. Relax.
gonna gaslight you. They're gonna gaslight you.
Yes.
They're gonna
And
make they're
make
gonna
you
make you
feel
second
dumb.
guess yourself. And that's the scary part, because as you start to awaken, you don't trust yourself anymore.
Yep.
You're no longer trusting yourself because you've just been
Yep.
gaslit, you've been lied to, your intuitive gifts are just all over the place.
Right.
So you're not able to focus on that.
No.
That's why it's very important to let go. You have to let that go. It's no longer serving you.
Yeah.
And you have to recognize the patterns. That's the thing. Like, am I happy? Like, am I happy right here? Because a lot of us, we're just with them because we're comfortable. But to tell you the truth, it's well worth it. It's well worth the journey. It's while we're starting over again.
Yeah.
You mean, especially if you're like with women, it's with not, because there's narcissistic men. You mean, and the thing is that people don't understand is that these people gaslight you. They're denying your reality. They're painting an illusion for you. So you need to understand and recognize it and separate. Don't fight it, because people have to understand that they're just the narcissist in your life is there to wake you up. That's what they're there for.
It is. It absolutely is. These burns, these experiences are to wake us up. That's the thing, is there is a spiritual contract in the heavenly realms.
Yes.
We make this
Yes.
spiritual contract. Hey, Christian Dixie, 888. I'm trying to acknowledge people, but we're in the middle of a podcast,
No.
but it's good to
That's
see your
fine.
face, Christian. Make sure you guys are following. If you hear these call outs, we're streaming live right now. Podcast will load up later, recorded version here on Instagram as well as YouTube, and also on Spotify, Apple, Pandora, all the big podcast areas where you watch or listen to your podcast. I also want to just stop for a second and take a little break and say hello to everybody that's coming in and out and people coming in. Robbie_Livy, thank you so much for being here. Third person perspective is always easier to see things when you have an identity to self. It creates a web of thoughts where you identify with your mind. Absolutely. That's really
Yes.
beautiful. That's
Well
really
said.
beautiful, Robbie_LIVI Livy. Thanks for sharing that. Also, there were some other people that were saying earlier, cosmic relationships are fundamental for evolution. The trauma and abuse we suffer, and it is. So we made these deals in the heavenly realms, is what Spirit shows me. And I work to teach people is that we made these agreements, and these agreements is that we're going to experience sacrifice, suffering, disappointment. We're also going to experience joy and happiness and thrive. Some people might sacrifice it emotionally, spiritually. Some people might be physically. Some people might be financially. Some people might be whatever it is. It literally is what pushes us. I mean,
Hmm.
how many times have you seen people who have lost loved ones due to being victimized in some way? And then they start charities and they start
Yes.
other things, whether somebody's lost their lives to suicide or lost their lives being victimized in some way. They've started other things to create
It's
this
sparked up.
magnet of love
Yes,
and
exactly.
trust, right?
It's a domino
And
effect.
creation and all of it, knowledge. And so here you are. What made you decide to get the kahunas, the big kahunas, to get on a YouTube channel and start rubbing that sandpaper in those wounded areas? Because you know you're a trigger, you're a hot spot. Yet
Yes.
here you are with 180K followers, but you're a hot spot. Talk to me. What's up with
Well,
that? What made you
well,
decide to do that? What gave you the courage?
well, I was following Billy Carson. He's one of my, like I said, one of my mentors, and he always has really great content. You mean, so I started posting shorts, and I started noticing that YouTube is trying to compete, of course, with all these with other platforms. So I was able to recognize it, start posting shorts, and I start creating them myself, meaning like I do the editing and things like that. But what drove me to start doing this is because, to tell you the truth, I wanted to tell on the narcissist. Like when I first started,
I'm going to be honest with you. I wanted to tell on those little fuckers. And that's why we're going to tell
that's
those fuckers. We're
because
going
I'm
to tell
like,
everybody about them.
because I'm like, because I was shocked to understand. I'm like, because I'm telling you, like, I was bamboozled to understand, like I thought this person I was with was a certain person. I'm like, I'm gonna tell,
Yeah.
and then not to mention, as you start to awaken, you start to look into numerology, you start looking into astrology, and
Yeah.
I'm a Gemini, which is communication. I'm on life path
I
number 3, which is
swear, you
communication.
Gemini, you guys are like magnets in my life. Where the fuck are you coming from? Left, right, up, down, all around. Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. And
So
it's the opposite of my
yeah,
chart, but somehow we have chemistry there too with those
yeah,
Geminis.
it's because we complement each other,
Yeah.
Amy. And the thing is, like, one thing that I was saying, like, when I was looking into my astrology chart, because, like I said, I was never spiritual.
Yeah.
But if you really want direction in your life, that's where you need to go, because that is where your true, authentic self is, not the false self, not the false identity, because
Right.
that's what the dark night of the soul is. Is you're
Not what
losing
everybody
yourself.
wants you to be and what you think everyone wants you to be. It's
Exactly.
usually the opposite.
So yes, it's because, the thing is, because we put on masks, and a
Yeah.
lot of us,
Oh, yeah.
we fall in love with those masks. And that's the thing, is like, I thought, and I really believed that I was the mask. Like, I thought I was living the life. Like I said, I was narcissistic, but I realized I do have empathy. I realized I do have, emotions. And because I was trying to resolve this. And when I woke up understanding, like, hey, the narcissist, because I was losing my job. I lost my grandmother. So I stood home, and once I stood home, I started to realize that the narcissist was doing things that I used to do. That's what I'm saying. So, like, once I started to recognize and I started to question them, they don't like to be questioned.
Mm-hmm.
They hate to be questioned.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. And then they already realize it. You're waking up. So once you're waking up, they panic because
Oh
you're
yeah,
their
because
main.
it's not
Yes.
unheard. Once you pop the cherry, it can't be unpopped.
So
Right.
they because their mask is falling because because
It's never unseen. You cannot unseen. You cannot unhear. You cannot unfeel. That's right, spiritual
exactly.
gangsta. You knew.
So
You
yeah, well,
knew.
I that's the thing is like I started to. I'm like, you know what? Like, and I gave her the chance. Like with my narcissist, like because I try to work it out. I try to, I was even willing to go to therapy and all that because at the time the narcissist is blaming you. You're the crazy one. You're the one that needs to go to therapy. You know what? You're the crazy one. And at the same time, the covert narcissist behind your back is telling their friends, their significant other, the psychic, because they have psychics. They have another batch behind your back. You're the crazy one. You're the ex-boyfriend that doesn't get it.
And they're working
So,
with the dark empaths. Because when you
well,
said psychics, let me just clarify something with you.
yes.
This is a good point. You said, what's the difference between a dark empath and a heavy empath? Heavy empath is when you're going through emotional distress and anxiety. You're feeling, maybe suicidal ideation, or maybe you're just not living. You're just getting through your days. You're just down about life is hard. You're crying. Maybe you're just not. Maybe you're Affleck. Maybe there's just nothing. Maybe you're just not sure how to feel. And then the dark empath is someone who's intuitive like you and I, who is saying, you should go back with her because somehow it's either going to benefit me or I'm going to keep bringing you into the idea
Exactly.
that I'm going to tell that person, here's what you need to do with Johnny to get him back, because I'm going to play psychological warfare. I'm going to tell you what Johnny's thinking right now. I'm going to be able, because I'm a psychic, be able to connect, but I want your money and I want you trapped in with me. So I'm going to continue. This is a dark empath who has got abilities. Maybe they're not a psychic, but I'm using psychic example, and they're going to start getting there where they're using you. They become your psychic pacifier where you're spending a shitload of money on them. Or now as somebody, like for myself, I've had people do that where they start to use me as a psychic pacifier. That's when I have to cut them off, and they don't like it because I'm like, now this is getting uncomfortable. Now this is about, you're just trying to manipulate them by knowing what's going on. You just want to play by play.
So like you're saying,
So if there's a psychic that's doing that with you, they are either engaging in because they're scared of lack and scarcity, and so they want to make the money, and they're going to try to do what they can to make the money because they need to pay their bills, or they really are a dark empath. But even if they're not naturally a dark empath, if they're engaging because of the money and they're not doing it for the healing, yes, you do it as a business. But if they're letting someone use you as a psychic pacifier, or if they're telling you, if any psychic is telling you, they're pissed at you, Uncle John is really upset with you, Uncle John's really upset with you, it's not like that. They don't hold on to life worries and emotions like that.
use your spiritual discernment. Use your spiritual discernment when it comes to stuff like that.
Exactly.
Use your spiritual discernment because, okay, so touching on what you were saying about the heavy empath, like what you're describing to me and what you're telling me, that sounds like a part of the dark night of the soul of a dark empath.
Yes.
Like, because a dark empath, like I'm saying, like, I didn't know I was a dark empath because I would manipulate, like you said, my own way, my own self. Like, okay, because I was at that point, like, I can join them. I can go ahead and be a part of their heroin garage. I could be a part of their game with them. But at the end of it, you just can't do it. Like, that's how you know, like, I'm not a narcissist because I'm asking the right questions.
Yes.
I'm asking because the narcissist doesn't ask those right questions. It's your fault. They're not going to take accountability.
They don't ask questions because they don't want you. They don't want to hear your answer because no matter what your answer is, they're going to switch the goal.
Not to mention, they like to play the don't ask, don't tell. I'm not going to ask you questions because you're going to start asking me questions.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So I believe that the narcissist knew I was empathetic, but I had that darkness in me because of my childhood trauma, because of my childhood wounds, because of my inner child that I never really looked into.
Yeah.
So that's a part of you being a part of the dark empath, but the difference is you are addressing your wounds. You are actually taking accountability for your actions, and that's actually one of the biggest steps you need to do is take accountability for your actions.
Yes, that's so important, and that's so beautiful. And I love the way you express yourself in this. And that is huge. And ultimately, when you're doing that, you know you're not a narcissist. Being a narcissist and having narcissistic characteristics, there's two different things.
Yes.
We as humans all have narcissism in
Yes.
us. Let's be clear. We all have, it's part of our backbone. It's part of our big spiritual hairy balls. Okay. Or I call them my spirit balls. And I'll tell you right now, without that, I mean, you have to have some selfishness. You have to have some of that. However, it's when a narcissist is when it's not balanced. And when it's all about them, and they will literally manipulate anyone or anything. They will manipulate the situation.
And they don't care who they hurt.
They don't care. And they'll act like they do because for whatever reason, it's going to benefit them on the next stage of whatever they're doing. They're actors.
Well, that's the thing. So be careful with a dark empath as well, because that's what a dark empath is more dangerous than a narcissist, because they have, well, and I say they because meaning me, we have cognitive empathy, like meaning we're able to get into their mind, see what they want to hear, tell them what they want to hear. We can, and next thing you know, you're just in love, because remember, the narcissist does the same thing.
They get me.
They love,
and now I'm paying them a bunch of money or attention, or maybe they're not a psychic. Maybe because anybody who has gifts, you know, they're good to go talk to. They usually have good advice. Or maybe you're not a psychic, but you're an empath, and so they're just drawn to you, and they want to talk to you for 2 and 3 hours at night while you're eating dinner. And at first, it's fun. You feel great. You feel needed. You feel special. Now you're drained. Now you're like, tell her I'm sick. Tell her I'm not available. Tell him I can't. Like, you get to the point where you're like, what did I do? And then you don't know how to get the fuck out of it. It like in friendship, for example, or anything.
Yes, 100%, Amy. 100% right.
Yeah, it's getting deep. Finally, it's been getting deep. It's been getting deep. We don't sugarcoat anything here. We really don't. And so, you know, people need to understand that, you know, it's been even in this podcast, you'll see in the beginning, we are growing and changing every day of the year, every month, every week, but every minute.
Exactly.
And so you guys have to understand, you don't have to apologize for your change and for you recognizing now the illusion. Don't apologize. Now, I know
unapologetically.
Like they don't know. Yes.
Be unapologetic. They act like
they don't see it. And you do see the illusion. Be unapologetic. Talk about that, Johnny. What's that?
Oh, yes. Like, that's what we're talking about. Being well, it's just being your authentic self, being your true self, expressing yourself the way you need to express yourself. You know, because like, and remember, the narcissist attaches themselves to you for that being, because you have something special to offer. But I don't want to jump in too much in that, because what I really want to get to, guys, is the point of it. It's because I can sit here all day and we could complain about the narcissist and blame them and see them, but it's not really them. It's you.
Yeah.
What are you accepting? What are you? Yes. What are you allowing? And like I'm saying, and then you need to separate from them. Detach from them. Stop giving yourself excuses of why you're being with them. You really do. You know. So like I'm saying, like me, like it took me to stop chasing. It took for me to stop looking, because a covert narcissist, when they're discarding of you, they leave you with questions. They leave you guessing what happened, because they like to dump everything on you. You're just their scapegoat. Remember, everything's your fault. And then they want to come back as the savior. Like, oh my God, like if nothing happened. They come back like if nothing happened.
They're really, really good about like just kind of like sweeping it and then just kind of moving on to something else. And then you sort of, and then that empath, of course, we're feeling them. And now we start to like, oh, we don't want to rock the boat. Obviously, they don't want to talk about it. Like, and how often do we do that? And Monologues of a Phoenix says 100%, as you were sharing that. And I just want to remind everybody, make sure you go and follow at Spiritual Gangsta 44. And I'll put all his information in when I load this up on Instagram, also on YouTube, and also on, you'll see it streaming on Spotify, Pandora, all the places basically, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And so if you want to listen or you want to watch, you want to see what kind of hunk Spiritual Gangsta is, Johnny.
Thank you, Amy.
Maldonado. Am I saying that right? Maldonado?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Maldonado. Okay. Yeah, you're hitting it right in the plate.
Such a gentleman and such an intuitive. And I love that you're here and sharing your knowledge. your YouTube page has some really awesome stuff. Like there's just so many topics. If you're trying to figure out your life, trying to figure out where your courage and your leadership is within your journey of your soul, Johnny is a great asset. And just going to his page and supporting his page by subscribing to his page. And I truly believe that Johnny is going to be offering even more knowledge when he shares. Johnny, when you share, and I studied you a little bit. I know it's kind of stalkerish sounding, but I did because I'm having you on. I want to kind of really feel your energy and what
to know who I am. Yes, I got you.
And what's interesting is like when you start going, your channel, you're so, and I told you this before, but you're in full channel. You are a channeler. Your intuitive vibe is fucking on point, and the shit you like, how you say things and how you articulate this knowing. It's like, and me knowing what I know and what spirit tells me, it's like you've got like a major. What you're doing is the purpose of all of it. Everything you've been through, all the disappointments, all the heartbreaks. And I also feel like this is going to bring in new love for you.
Yes.
Okay.
So speaking of love, if you don't mind, let me just touch on that because
I wanted to ask you about that. Well, if you don't mind. Nothing like
I've been celibate, for the past since 2020. Been celibate for 3.5 years. For the reason being, because like I'm saying, as you awaken and you get out of the dark night of the soul, everything that once that you seen as real falls apart. So like me sleeping around, being with other people, like I was searching for happiness. I was looking for happiness within them. I was the cool guy. I was the one with 2 girlfriends. I was that person. So like, Like it took for me just to be by myself. That's the way you're going to get to know yourself, is once you start to sit by yourself, and you're never alone. You're never alone because you're with your higher self. But at the time, you're not going to recognize that. You're not going to see that because you're going through pain, man, because you're having an ego death. Your ego is dying, the old self of what you thought was there. So when you're going through that turmoil, start asking these empowering questions. You mean like, why is this happening? Like things are happening for me, not to me.
For me.
And another thing was like the Ho'oponopono was another one, that helped me out, which is like, I'm sorry, please forgive me.
Yes.
I'm sorry, please forgive me. I love you, and thank you, and I love you. Just those alone, because now you're rewording the way you're speaking to yourself. Because
is that your cat?
No, I don't have a cat. That's probably your cat.
My cat.
I don't have a cat, but I have one if you like.
Crushy.
See, my
echoing. She's echoing with my. I'm like, is that your cat? It sounds like it's cat. Oh, it's mine. That little bitch. I love her, but she never says a word until I'm on a podcast.
She's a green spirit. Yeah, I agree.
She's like, I got something to say. I love her. No, just kidding. She is a little bitch, but I love that little bitch. She's
another thing, Amy, is like we need to not take life so damn serious, man. Stop taking life so damn serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like they say, life is only a play. And all is mine, by the way. Like that's one thing that I realized, like the Hermetic principles say, all is mine. The universe is mental. So if the universe is mental, and if you can figure out who you are, like to a core, because one thing that I realized, Amy, is we're not this avatar. We're not this avatar. We're actually spiritual beings having this temporal human experience as Amy and as Johnny. And if you don't know this by now, and if you haven't figured it out by now, religion is man-made, man. It's man-made. Because remember, I was never religious. I was never spiritual. So I'm blessed not to have this virus, because it's a virus, by the way. It is. Like the religion virus, it's a virus, because you're giving your power away to an outside source instead of taking accountability for your actions, what you're doing, and what role are you playing in the matrix. And that was one of the biggest things as you awaken, is you're going to come to realize, like, who am I? What am I doing here? Who am I? Like I'm
Yeah.
saying, like when I started my channel, like I was complaining, I was a victim, I was going through narcissistic abuse.
Yeah.
Like I was literally in PTSD. And what Billy Carson showed me is turn that PTSD into PTG,
Yes.
post-traumatic growth. You know,
Yes.
you,
You know what? That's crazy. I knew you were going to say that because I had heard someone else say that once too. And I think that's post-traumatic
yes,
growth.
PTG. You could go for PTSD because we're stuck in the trauma mindset. Because
Yes.
the narcissist brought all that up. Like, because like I said, as I woke up from the narcissist, yeah, that's the narcissist. But like I said, I started asking the right questions. Like, what am I?
What am I?
Like, yeah, what am I attracting? Who am
I
I?
think that's really important to know that because when we attract narcissists, we start to think we are narcissists because the narcissists tell us we're narcissistic or imply we're narcissistic or imply that we're being completely overreactive on things every time we call them out and are saying, well, why didn't you share that part last time with me? Why are you sharing that now with this? Why
Mm-hmm.
didn't you share that a while ago? That happened to me once. And I said, because I knew this is what was going to happen then and I wasn't ready to go through it. Now that I'm sharing my voice, I'm being told, what? Well, why didn't you share your voice earlier? Really, it's your
They
fault
don't
because you
like
didn't
that.
share it earlier. And so you guys, understanding that a narcissist is going to do everything in their power to talk you out of your voice. They're going to talk you out of your voice when you question them. But when you are talking for them and supporting them and giving them advice,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to thrive and they're going to throw dust of
Yes,
love on
because
you.
it's who can blow smoke up their ass the best.
Yeah,
Literally, who can blow smoke up their ass the best? So, and if you ain't doing it,
yeah,
they're gonna have someone
yeah,
lined up already. But
yeah.
this is the key, guys. You need to recognize your worth, recognize your value. As an empath, you don't recognize that because the way you grew up, your
Mm-hmm,
subconscious programming,
mm-hmm.
what you think you need their validation. You don't need their validation. You have all this power is within you. It's going to start with you, but it takes for you to recognize this sometimes through pain, through hurt. But
Through pain, through hurt, for us to recognize, why did I need their validation? I am so exhausted, or I have been beaten one too many times physically or emotionally. A narcissist won't necessarily hit you. They might physically hurt you,
it's
but a
verbal abuse.
narcissist will absolutely emotionally abuse you. It's no different. It's like a smack in the face sometimes with the
Mm-hmm,
things that are
mm-hmm.
said.
Yeah, they'll
But then the
insult you,
things
and then if you forgive, and if you forgive them, and they take you, they're laughing at you because you
you keep
forgave
giving
them.
it, you keep forgiving them. You're giving them permission how to
Mm-hmm.
treat you. How many warnings do you give? Crush, you go lay down. How many warnings
That's
do
where
you give
create
someone?
boundaries.
Yes,
Recognize your boundaries,
yes.
and reinforce your boundaries.
Mhm.
You need to reinforce these boundaries because if not, they're
See,
gonna walk all over you. Not
yes,
just your significant other, but other people as well. You
yes,
need to reckon if they show you their true colors in the beginning, believe them.
yeah.
Believe them the first time.
But so, keep in mind too when you say when they show you their signs, sometimes they won't even like. Sometimes you won't see signs, or sometimes you won't, there's things you won't see, and then all of a sudden they show, and you're like, what the fuck, where'd this come from? And you're like, but they were always, this happens a lot with clients too. Tell me what you think about this, Johnny, where they'll be like, but we had such an amazing time together. We were so good for the first few months. I just want that back. And so they've stayed in the relationship for 2 years or 3 years because they still want what they
Yeah.
had in the very
Because
beginning.
they love bombed you. They love bombed you. There's a such thing called
Yes.
love bomb you. They
Yes.
gave you what they because when they meet you, they're scanning you. They're looking at everything you're telling them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're telling them you don't have a father or a mother, they already know you have a mom, a wound, or a father wound. So they're gonna attack that. They're gonna give you that love that you're missing or that you think you're missing. So they
Yeah.
provide that to you. So then now you're addicted. It's like now you're addicted to them. So
It's that bond, that toxic bond.
yes,
I'm so addicted to you, baby.
yes,
Listen to the song, Your Hard Habit to Break, and it
yes.
is a real thing. Is this love 11 underscore is underscore this underscore love underscore 11? We are live here on Instagram at the Humble Soul Official with also at Spiritual Gangsta. At Spiritual Gangster 44, and it's Gangsta with an A, 44, all one word. Also, make sure you're going and following him at his YouTube at spiritual_gangsta. And he is here with me, and we're having a really great conversation about the dark night of the soul and experiences that we have, and narcissistic people in our own times, what the difference is with dark night of the soul, and what is the difference between a dark empath and a heavy empath, and then of course all the things in between. And so we're glad that you're here. If you're coming in now, you're kind of picking up as we're going, and you get to hear and see this later on as it's streaming. It'll be streaming also on Spotify, Apple, and Pandora, and all the places you listen. So also, I just want to say I appreciate you being here, Johnny. I would, I was thinking about this the other day, but I want to say this quote really fast before I forget. Is This Love says, if it doesn't evolve you, it shouldn't involve you. Take some people longer. And that's very true. I just want to ask you, Johnny, I feel like, I don't know if it's a course that you're doing or what this is. And what's interesting is it came up for me today while I was literally like washing dishes and cooking and running like a maniac, trying to get stuff set up and in between clients. And I saw you standing on a stage, like standing and doing workshops, but also like workshops where you're sitting with maybe 20 people or 30 people in a workshop and kind of breaking down things to look for and techniques to try, almost like, like a self-defense class where they teach you how to hook and shit. I know that you have your podcast, and I'm going to call it a podcast.
I'm exploring, Amy. That's the thing. I'm exploring myself. I'm finding out who I am.
I feel like, though, if you actually did a class where, something affordable, maybe it's a workshop for a couple of hours, or maybe it's a weekend workshop where you're learning how to get through, because there's people that are really struggling to work through getting that strength to get out and needing that coaching and that technique. So I don't know if it's one-on-one coaching or you're doing group coaching. I offer coaching in groups and one-on-one because not everybody wants to pay that one-on-one. They can't afford to do that. Not that it's ridiculous, but it's more than that group where they can, come as a group. But ultimately, I've been seeing that for you just today coming in. What are your plans coming up? How do we get more of you? And also, are you planning on providing us a store where we can get our hands on merch for you? Because I also see merch for you.
Amy, you are a blessing. You are a blessing, Amy. And I'm going to say this. The reason why I say this, because these are the type of questions that I've been asking myself personally, like, where's my next step? Because when you awaken from this dark night of the soul, it's a new way of being. You're literally starting to become a new version of yourself. So you're stepping into this new version that you don't even know, to the unknown. So I've thought about coaching. I've thought of relationship coaching, speaking of just a narcissist, starting a podcast like yourself. So right now I feel like, because I just realized that I am the captain of this vessel, of this avatar.
You absolutely fucking are. You are, you're the divine masculine coming in, and
I'm realizing that,
real.
And it took me a long time to understand that, because like I said, it took the suffering, it took the dark night of the soul, it took for me to be by myself, be in hermit mode, and go through these struggles, heal the inner child, do some shadow work, see what is bothering me, why is this triggering me? Because the best one that I've learned, Amy, before I get into what you said, because it's coming to me right now, is being the observer with no judgment. Because as a dark empath, we judge a lot. It's difficult. You mean, oh, look at this person, look at that person, what's there? And because when you grew up, it was a survival mechanism for you. As an empath, you woke up like, my caretakers, I need to walk around eggshells. I need to know how they are. So you built these intuitive gifts, and you probably more or less, you suppress them into your shadow side. So when you start doing this shadow work, start understanding yourself, you start to raise these gifts of yours. That's what I'm saying. A lot of us, like myself, didn't know I had these gifts. I didn't know what spirituality was or any of this higher self. And what it took for me, it was to understand my history. What history? like meaning our true history, because you're going to come to realize, like as you start to see through the veil of illusion, is like I said, we've been lied to through church, through our system is set up, our school is all what
All
is
of it.
Rothschild, like the Rothschild.
Yeah.
What he said was, I want a nation of workers, not of thinkers. So that just shows you what the agenda of this elite groups are
It's
doing, or what they're
really,
here for, is
yeah,
to
it is.
suppress your consciousness.
That's
They don't
right.
want you to understand this and get this,
No.
because if you understand this, then I can't control you anymore. I can't harvest your soul anymore. Because that's the whole point of your evolution here, is to understand yourself
Yes.
and level up
Yeah.
consciously. Because people's like that, like, I'm not religious, by the way, but this is coming to mind. Jesus never said he was coming back. He said Christ was going to return. And in that sense, the Christ consciousness, the evolution of self, because at the end of it, all of us are, somewhat of a fractal of God. And I say him, and it's not even a him, because it has no him, it has no gender,
That's
by
right.
the way.
Yes, that's right.
And
That's
this
right.
is stuff that, like I say,
This is what I'm sorry. I know I keep talking, but this is what I'm talking about right here. You know shit. Like, there's things and you say with complete conviction, like a channeler, somebody who's channeling.
how do I
And
know this, Amy? I do not know. Like, it just comes to me
it's called
sometimes.
claircognizance.
Okay, see.
Just, you know what? Just listen. Let me tell you something right now. I know I told you I wanted you to come in. I wanted to give you a free session, but I want to give you a couple of free sessions. I just want to talk to you offline.
Thank you, Amy.
About your gifts, because you're going to shit yourself. You really are going to literally just put an adult diaper on when I have you do an exercise and you read and you go, how the fuck do I know that? And you realize how it comes through, and you're going to go, as soon as it's like when you get on the bike and you finally realize how it works.
It's gnosis. I call it gnosis. It's like gnosis. It's an understanding of knowing. And a lot of us, it's in our DNA, because our DNA, by the way, holds to 14 to 15 generations in your blood of knowledge, because our memory. I'm sorry. By the way, I get distracted very easily, guys. ADHD stuff. But yes, man. So, but what am I? That's the thing, Amy, and that I don't know yet. But that's the beauty of it, because, and the reason why I say I don't know, Amy, because as you grow up like me, meaning like always dependent on what the other people like, because like I said, you're an empath. It's like, what do you want? What do you want?
Oh my God!
What do you want to do?
Yeah.
So now it's like
becoming a leader at first.
So now it's like, what do you want to do, Johnny? What do you want to create? So, and it's like, that's where I'm like, what do I? And it's like,
what do you want to do? I seriously just there's so.
Because there's a thing, Amy, at the end of it, we all want to make money and do this, but at the end of it, Amy, abundance is a side effect if you follow your purpose. If you follow your calling.
Exactly.
It's a side effect.
Yes, sir.
So why am I going to chase money when you could just follow your passion, follow your highest calling? And the only way you're going to be able to discover this is if you're sitting by yourself.
Yeah.
Being at peace.
Yeah.
Quieting the mind and hearing your heart. Because your heart has its own dynamic. And once you get that mind and heart coherence going, you can move mountains, as they say.
Absolutely.
And now that's what I consider myself to be, is a conscious creator, a truth seeker. And my thing is to teach people this by leading by example. Yeah. Because if I can do this, anybody can. If I can understand this, anybody can.
Look, we all have a soul. We all have a soul, okay? We have a soul. What does that mean? We have a soul. That means we all can connect. We can all connect. Okay, we can all come to the play. We can all sing at the play. Some of us are going to sing really good. Some of us are going to sing for the first time and be like, people are like, damn, spiritual gangsta. You got yourself a nice voice. And you're like, wow, really? You think so? There's going to be some people who are like, we're going to put them over here. Maybe they're not as connected. It's how bad do you want it, and just start allowing yourself. Some people play baseball great. Some people don't. It may not be in some people's blueprint to be readers, but that does not mean you do not have intuitiveness and cognizance, clear knowing, because Spirit gave us that. It's called your gut instinct, your intuition. And
Intuition.
there are times intuition will come into for someone that has never had even an experience of psychicness. And they're like, how did you know that? And you're like, I don't know. I'm going to tell you right now, the veil is thinning. Now, some people say there's no such thing as a veil. What I consider a veil is basically, it's that area where the energy, we're here and the energy's here. And it's getting to that energy is really what it is. And
People are starting to see. People are starting to see through the veil of illusions, because everything is an illusion.
Yes, it is.
You know what? Like me and you right here, like right now, as we're communicating, I'm speaking to myself, because there's really no one there, because you are me and I'm you.
Yeah.
You mean we're one in one.
Yes, we are all one, and we judge all parts of self. We mirror each other. We judge all parts of self. And something that Is This Love said earlier, hold on a second. Hold on. I want to get back to it. Suffering is a choice.
Oh yeah. It's definitely a choice, because it's like, because you have the choice to either leave or to stay, the choice to change or to feed into this, because what you pay attention to is going to grow. Where energy flows, attention. Well, energy flows, attention. What is that? I'm sorry, I got that mixed up with but it's where energy flows,
Where
attention goes.
energy flows.
Yes, and it's going
What you
to
focus
expand.
on is what
It's
you
gonna
get.
it's going to expand.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you start realizing, because now you're becoming a conscious creator. Now it's like, oh man, I do have power. Oh shit. And the more darkness you have in you, the more light you're gonna receive. And that is what makes it so powerful, because you get this gnosis. And the way you get it, because now you're tapping into that DNA. You know, like I said, like me understanding this, understanding self, I'm like, oh shit, we're just here to have an experience here on earth.
Yeah.
That's all it really is. It's because God, or the universe, whatever you want to call it, wants to experience itself as it. So you are its creation. So it wants to experience itself as Amy, as Johnny, as wherever. Like, and that's the thing, is you have to recognize that.
You do.
Because we're only here temporarily.
We are.
Like, you're not, like, death is only the beginning, by the way.
I know. Yes.
Happy
Jesus,
Dia de los
this
Muertos.
is what I'm talking about, Johnny. I mean, you, like, the stuff you channel and the stuff I watch you channeling, I'm like, he is so, like, prophetic. You're such a prophet.
Prophet.
You're very prophetic.
I'm flattered, Amy. Like, believe me. Like, and that's another one. Like, I wasn't used to taking compliments. I couldn't take a compliment before. Like, I was. You know what I'll do? I'll throw it right back. Oh no, you, and it's like,
no,
one thing that I learned.
But that's I did
learning,
the same thing. I had a really
it's learning.
I had a really hard time with it too. And I love this. I know we're coming to the end here because of time purposes, but some of the people are asking, whereabouts in the world are you? You're in California, right?
Dude, I'm in the epicenter of narcissism. I'm in Los Angeles, man. I'm in Los Angeles.
That's what I thought. LA, yeah.
I'm in LA.
I wasn't sure if you wanted to.
No,
I don't know. I haven't seen. I'm sure I know you've mentioned it before, but I wanted to make sure.
I'm in Los Angeles, man. I was born and raised in the ghetto. I was from the projects. I'm from the projects, man. You know what I mean? So I have that darkness in me, and I know it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It brings awareness. Bringing awareness to who you are is what's gonna make you elevate to the next level. It really is.
And
somebody asked,
you have a website, right? You also have a website.
Oh, I don't have a website.
Not yet?
I'm just getting started. Like, I'm literally just getting started, man.
I build websites. I work with a program, and I build websites. Let me know if you have any questions or need any help with that. But ultimately, I have a feeling things are going to start to lift for you and really.
So thank you, Amy. Like I was telling you earlier, I wanted to thank you, because these are the questions that I was asking myself. Like, what direction do I need to take? Where is my purpose? Because a lot of the time in the journey, you get frustrated, man. It's not over, because the work is never done. The work is never done. It's an ongoing thing. You can't
focus on something I'm learning, and it's been a battle for myself too. A little OCD, a little ADHD, a little. But I always want my inbox to be empty, like not empty where there's no business, but I want to be able to, like, I like to get shit done. And then I'm waiting, and I'm like, business might be a little slow or whatever, but I get very anxious about making sure I'm fit. And what I'm learning is we need to start accepting the fact that it's okay that our inbox is always flowing with new things. And stop looking at, I need to empty that. It needs to empty, and say, here's my list for today. here's my list for tomorrow, here's my list for whatever, and if you don't get to it, you just move it to the next day.
Tackle your priorities.
Right?
Tackle your priorities.
And yes, and so it's about prioritizing. And it's the other thing when somebody says, when you said, Johnny, either you leave or you stay, and somebody goes, it's not that easy. There's children, there's money, there's this. We get that. There is a lot more involved in certain situations. That is,
but make steps. So make steps. Not like because
steps.
you can sit there. Yeah, you can sit there and blame and use this as an excuse. And next thing you know, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. But if you start making these plans, like start making these small adjustments, like okay, saving money, okay, asking for friends, because it's really hard to escape a narcissist. Believe me, there's such thing called the Stockholm syndrome, which is they trauma bond you. You get trauma bonded to the narcissist. You mean you defend your abuser, and it's like no, it's just you've been conditioned. You've been programmed a certain way, and you need to deprogram yourself.
It's like Pavlov's dogs. You hear the bell, the dinner bell, and you come in and you're salivating, and we're trained like, oh, he's home. I gotta make sure this.
Hurry up!
If I don't, or she's home. If I don't, I'm gonna hear it. It's gonna that trash not being taken out is gonna turn into how I'm failing our marriage. Or how the kids are not, I'm not doing enough for the children, or whatever. Or maybe it's not in a relationship, a marriage relationship, maybe it's in business, whatever the case may be. The one thing that sucks the most is when your boss is a narcissist.
Oh, wow. Yes, it's even worse.
Because you really are at a point in their mercy. So I'm here to tell you, get everything you can knowledge-wise out of the position that you are. And, and really pay attention to the fact of, do I want to sit here and wait until this person levels up or moves on, or do I want to level up and move on over them?
You need to level up. That's the thing. You need to level up. You are the change that you're looking for. You are seeking. You are the person you are seeking.
That's right.
You are the only one who's going to create this happiness in your life.
That's right.
You are the change.
You sitting there waiting for them to leave. I mean, manifesting is powerful, but you waiting for them to make the choice to change or making them the choice to leave, you're giving your power away. You're literally giving your power.
And believe, and speaking of manifesting, you're manifesting 24/7, 7 days a week, even if you like it or not. Even if you like it or not, because you're just existing. But now, once you start to focus the energy and focus on what you want, get rid of the old friends, shed the old people, then you can step into your power, because now you get to hear yourself. You cannot hear yourself if it's too noisy up here. And believe me, it's real noisy up here for me.
Oh, but that's called spirit, Johnny.
Somebody asked.
You're gonna just be mind fucking blown. Just give me an hour, Johnny. Just an hour. I promise.
And somebody asked about meditation.
I won't break you.
See, I'm ignoring it. Like,
he's like,
but speaking of meditation,
I'm like, I'm listening to you, and I'm like, wow.
It's because it's like Amy. And what helped me understand that, Amy, was understanding my life path number as well. Like I said, I'm a life path number 3, which is communication. What's number 3 as well? You're childish. You have that childish energy with you. You mean, so I'm like, wow, this shit really is true. This is not woo-woo.
It is.
This is not woo-woo. This is real.
To break it down is powerful shit, man.
It really is. It's a metaphysics. And not to mention, that's one of the things I like Billy Carson, because Billy Carson breaks it down on a quantum level. He teaches you like how spirituality is attached to quantum physics. And the ancients talk about this. And what ancients? Well, I talk about like, the Sumerian tablets, the Emerald tablets of Thoth, the Hermetic principles, the occult knowledge. They call it occult knowledge, but occult knowledge, all it really means is hidden knowledge. And by the way, these elites, these oligarchs, they use this knowledge, but they're using it for dark. They use it for dark though.
Do you know they have some of the most, like, I'm going to say something really controversial here.
Go ahead.
But I really believe not maybe all of them, but very likely mostly all of them are utilized. And these are psychics in the Hollywood scene. Psychics are in the Hollywood scene. They are utilized with the elite. Don't think that. So these psychics with these big shows and these big opportunities and all of these things, they're brought in, they're used for other things. Don't think they're just getting the golden ticket to be seen. Like, why does that psychic get a show and that psychic doesn't? Why does that psychic get a show? I'm not saying all people in the limelight are working for the elite, but I can tell you that there are many, not just psychics, but many people who are, and lots of times they get pulled in with the glamour,
Mm-hmm.
the charisma and the glamour and the money and the celebrityism, and then all of a sudden they're fucked.
Yeah,
And
look at
you're
Sam
in.
Smith.
You're
Look at
in.
Sam Smith. Sam Smith was very gentle, very loving, caring
Yeah.
going in, and he went demonic, like straight
Yeah.
out just parading and the horns because they literally sold themselves or their soul to the dark side of
Yeah.
of fame,
Yeah.
of greed, and so yeah, man. So, but anyways, Amy, the point of what I'm trying to say, Amy, and of everything coming together, Amy, is get to know yourself. You know, as you awaken,
Yeah.
separate yourself, surrender, man. You need to surrender because if you're fighting against because your soul's calling you, you're
Yes.
literally your soul is calling you. And as a matter of fact, I always tell people like me, I literally lost my mind to find my soul
Yeah.
because like I said, I was never spiritual, I was never like this at all, but it got me to understand that part of myself and ask the deeper questions. And literally it's you're an alchemist because as you're going through that dark night of the soul, that turmoil, that you're turning that pain into purpose.
Yes.
You're literally an alchemist. You're or they call him the wounded healer or Chiron the wounded healer, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, meaning as in like because people think they need to be healed to talk to people. No, man. You have medicine on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the only way and the way I understood this, Amy, when I first started was like the four agreements. You know, the whole four agreements. You know, don't take things personal.
Yeah.
Be impeccable with your
Yeah.
word. What is the other ones? There was three other ones. The whole point is like, yeah, it's just you have to understand who you are, and once you
It's not
start to
overnight.
do that, it's not
It's not.
overnight. It takes time.
It does.
Someone asked, if I meditate? I do meditate, but what I really do more is conscious breathing, man. Like for me, conscious breathing was the thing because conscious breathing induces
Yeah.
meditation and it helps quiet the mind.
Yeah.
It literally helps quiet the mind,
Yep.
you know, because you're focusing on the breath.
That's right.
And so, yeah, man, so that kind of helped me at least get to know my higher self.
Mm-hmm.
Because another question that I've asked was like, who's that voice that we hear? That voice that speaks to us? Who really is it? You know, and the answer I got was, it's ourselves speaking to us from a higher dimension, guiding us through our intuition, through synchronicities, through
That's right.
signs. But are you in tune? Are you quiet enough to listen to this, to find this stuff that's going on? But if you're too busy chasing, looking, not in the matrix, then you're not going to be able to
You'll
discover this
miss
part
it.
of
You'll
yourself.
miss it. You will not. You do. You have to step outside of the matrix, or you will miss it. And spirit is subtle, but there are times when spirit is loud too. So pay attention to when they're loud. But then also, like you said, when you get in breath is your spirit. Breath is what brings you into your spirit. Breath is what brings you into meditation. So that is
Breath is the first and last. Breath is the first and last thing you're gonna do in this
yes.
earth. So if you can master the breath,
Yes,
you can master your emotions.
meditation and the emotion. I'm working on that, Johnny, and I love that because I am an Aries moon, which means I'm a Leo rising. I'm a Taurus sun, Leo rising, Aries moon. I'm a firecracker when it comes to being triggered or getting emotional. Yet, luckily, because I'm a Taurus, I'm very grounded. But when I lose my shit and I get pissed, I go from 0 to 100 and I'll be like, fuck you. Like when they'll be like, no, 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 no. I'm like, okay, let's calm down. Let's talk about this. And finally I'll just be like, you know what? And I'll just lose that.
Yeah.
Totally. And then I'm like, oh my God, I fucking triggered. I just triggered. And it's like, I'm working on that. And one of the things, and I am a shaman, and one of the things, but I also am a human. And if we don't exercise those skills, we will forget them or lose them. And so it is important that we all do conscious breathing, deep breaths in and release, allowing ourselves to calm down, to get ourselves in a place of good frame of mind, because sometimes silence is a safer direction to take something until you know how you want to handle it. Because when you're in that triggered place,
you're reacting.
You're just reacting.
You're reacting.
You're not getting anywhere. You're just
because
reacting.
you're reacting from your lower state of consciousness. You're reacting from a lower mentality.
Yes.
So when you start to connect to the breath, you're actually you're responding now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, and it's something. It's even funny because when you start to do breath work and people try to trigger you, you'll it's like the Matrix. You'll see it coming and you'll even laugh about it.
Yeah.
Because you'll even laugh because you'll laugh
You
about it, like, really?
see
Like, is
it
this?
and it's so clear. You're just like, oh, God, here we go. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even interested. I've
I'm not
seen these
even
guys
interested. I'm not even
before.
entertaining. And what I've learned is you just detach slowly and quietly, with
Yeah.
peace, with love,
Oh yeah,
because
because
that's the part.
if you're making drama, you're a narcissist. If you're making drama in it, then you want also then there's two narcissists playing in it.
Oh, the dark
Being a
empath,
narcissist,
unhealed. Yes,
being a narcissist and acting like a narcissist are two different things, though. Acting
yes,
like a narcissist, like you're acting like a narcissist. I'm not saying you are, but you are. These behaviors are feeling narcissistic to me, and I need you to understand what that looks like to me. Oh, I appreciate it. Be careful. We don't want to always just tell someone you're a narcissist.
yeah.
What a
That's
narcissist.
yes.
I want to be
Because
careful
we
how
all
you're
are,
throwing
remember,
that
yeah,
around.
we all are somewhat narcissistic. There's healthy narcissism,
Mhm.
looking beautiful like Amy took some time,
Yeah, you gotta be a little vain.
so but that's self-care, and you need to
You
be
have to love
narcissistic
yourself.
in the sense you come first.
Yeah.
You do come first.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying. You need to be somewhat narcissistic, but be healthy. And if you do have these traits, or if you do recognize something in there, just bring awareness to it.
Yeah.
Because that's the key, is bringing awareness to it. Because that's where you're bringing the light to it.
Mhm.
And that's how you start to integrate your shadow. That's how you start to get to know yourself. Because ignorance is pretty much darkness is ignorance. That's all it really is.
It's
And
all
until
it
you
is.
shine light, once you shine light to it, man, integrate that part of yourself, it becomes a lot easier to start living life.
Yes.
So because sometimes, one more thing before we do wrap it up here is
Yeah.
speak kindly to yourself, guys. That's one of the best things I can give, is speak kindly to yourself
Yeah.
as you awaken from the dark night of the soul. It takes practice, and practice does not make improve. I mean, sorry, practice does not make proof. Practice does not make perfect. It makes improvement. It takes
Yeah.
time. It really
Yeah,
does.
it really does. And we are perfectly imperfect, because if you're trying to find a sense of perfection, usually it's because we're trying to impress someone
Yes.
else. And you're
Or
not here to
it's a
impress
wound,
anyone.
or it's a wound that you have from your mother or father that you had to impress them to seek.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And you get to know this part of yourself, like, oh
Yeah.
shit, this is why I'm like this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then this is the thing. And then at the end of the night, what I do is literally, I replay the day back. Okay, you know what? I shouldn't have argued. I shouldn't have done
Me
that.
too. I
Next
do
time
that
I'm gonna
too.
this is how I'm gonna respond
Yeah.
better. So you start making, and that's how you start literally reprogramming your subconscious mind,
Mhm.
because now you're going to the core of it. And
Right.
now it's, what do they call that? I think they call it NLP, which is neuro linguistic
Mhm.
programming. This is the stuff that I started to pick up as I started to awaken, Amy, and understand what was really happening, like, in my life. And that's what it takes, guys, to take a step back.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to tell you too, Amy, earlier, because I know you had a lot of energy on you, was like, take time for yourself, man. You're a beautiful soul. You're doing a lot of the work of the light. And sometimes you have to take
You're
time
right.
to yourself.
Oh,
Check
it's a
in with
bitch
yourself.
sometimes.
How am I feeling? How am I feeling today? What's going on? Like, checking in.
What would
That's
it
really what it
be
is.
like to have something to eat? Well,
I'm sorry?
I was just thinking, what would it be like to have something to eat? It's been that kind of day. It's that kind of day. It's just, but sometimes I don't take enough time for myself, because I'm, as a small business owner, you're always hustling and bustling and moving. But it's a good reminder, and you're right, Johnny, because even the best nurses and doctors are not that take care of people don't always take care of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Healers will take care of other people, but sometimes we have a hard time taking, because we're running so fast, running our business on top of being healers. And I think that's a really good reminder that we'll take to come to the end here.
And I'll tell you,
Is
congratulations, Amy. Congratulations, Amy, because why? I see you grow. I see you develop. You and
to
Energy Jolie Mama, her
yes,
were
thank
the
you,
two.
Kennedy.
Yeah, her,
Thank
like, I
you.
seen two people, like, literally started off like with nobody, really
Yeah,
just grew up, and you're
yeah,
following your passion. So I get where you need to hustle, you need to get your grind on, where you need to be somewhat narcissistic to
yeah,
push that grind on and get
yeah.
going. But you're doing it, man, and
Doing it.
I love what you're bringing, Amy.
Thank
You're
you.
authentic. You're really authentic. You have a kind heart, and like I said, man, thank you very much for helping others like myself find that love in them and helping them see their best part by being yourself, Amy. And thank you for that.
I appreciate that so much. I'll tell you, there was a time where being myself was really scary, and it took me to get into my 40s really before I fully saw that in myself. And so it's never too late to just reinvent who, like, it's not even that you're reinventing, it's always been you, just you never let it out because you were
Perfectly.
told to not to, or whatever. So Johnny, thank you for supporting me, supporting my channel, bringing me on your podcast,
We'll
or
do it
on your
again.
channel. I call it a podcast, but on your YouTube.
We'll
And
do it again.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it because there's other topics that I would love to chat with you about. I think it'd be fun to do that. And I just want you guys to remember to go follow him. I'll put all this stuff in the notes. And then, of course, I will be putting all of this stuff on my YouTube probably tomorrow, this weekend, and also be loading the podcast up. And all of Johnny's stuff will be in there as well. So make sure you touch base with him and follow and subscribe, because when you do, you'll be the first to know when he's offering some new things, new opportunities for you to get involved with his purpose and what he's doing.
And right now, guys, reach out to me. Feel free. You mean like I like, because for me, it makes my day to be able to be a service to others, man. It really, really
Me too.
does.
Me too.
And so, yeah, reach out, and I'll be more than happy to guide. But one thing I am going to ask is for you to be honest, because I'm going to put you on, like, hey,
Yeah.
be honest with yourself, because you need
And be
to be
vulnerable.
honest with yourself.
Be
Yes.
vulnerable, like,
To
like just let it, like, just it's like going to the doctors and they're like, could, let's go ahead and have you disrobe and put on a little, and I'll be right in and we're going to ask some uncomfortable questions. Like, you got to, it's like visiting the doctor might be a little awkward, but then it starts to feel comfortable.
yeah, because a lot
And all of a
of
sudden
the
you're like,
times we need to hear ourselves. A lot of
yeah, I
times
feel the truth.
people just need to hear themselves, and because once you start to hear yourselves, you
Mhm.
start to realize the excuses you're giving yourself, which is the pattern egoic mind, by the way, because we all have
Yes.
that pattern. We can get more into that too, but anyways, Amy, pleasure is mine.
Thank you so much, Johnny. I really appreciate you and for you coming in and hanging out with us. And I look forward to more fun time. And you guys make sure you're following him at spiritual_gangsta on YouTube. And then also on IG at Spiritual Gangsta 44. And also want to remind you to make sure, if you're not following me here at the Humbled Soul Official on IG, I know some of my listeners are not IG people. I'd love for you to come in just to see all the fun freebies and things that come in. Make sure you're subscribing to my channel. I give free monthly healings, Reiki healing, shamanic Reiki healing, messages, and so forth. And also want to remind you guys, if you're not aware, there is a beautiful retreat that's going to be happening at my property, 8 acres. There will be beautiful medicine horses here. Sarah Ashley, astrology.com, and I are going to be running a retreat for women, and we're going to have a beautiful time. There's a lot of healing that's going to be involved. We're going to be guest speakers, some divine masculine guest speakers as well. We'd love to have you. We're also going down to the city. I just live outside of Nashville, so there's a lot of beautiful healing. I hope that if you're interested, ladies, please get in touch. Go to thehumbledsoul.com. Again, that's thehumbledsoul.com. You can sign up, or feel free to DM me or Sarah, and at Sarah Ashley _astrology for any details or questions. You guys have a great night or day, whatever time it is when you're listening to this or watching this, and know that you are not alone in this world. This world is crazy. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of shit going on, but you are not alone. And if you need someone, reach out. Reach out. Go to Spiritual Gangsters YouTube. Watch his stuff. It will make you feel safe and not alone. It'll make you feel like you're with that friend that's sharing knowledge. Book your session with me, or say hello on Instagram to us. DM us, say hello. Let's get to know each other. Let's see what we can do for you. And remember to follow us and support us. Like, share, and comment. Subscribe. Do all the things, you guys. Go also to the Humble Soul YouTube, Humble Soul, and say hello. Namaste,
Much love.
everybody.
Much love.
Much love.